What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Red Glare Podcast. Going strong, going strong. And if you've been following, when the Red Glare Podcast is on, good things happen for our team. So I am your host, Alec Miller. You can find me on Twitter at AlecMiller0423. And as always, joined by my man, Paul Trinidad. What's up, man?
What's up, brother? Appreciate the intro. Glad to be here. Got a lot to talk about.
Absolutely. And we are joined with our special guest, our second guest so far on the show, my man Jesus from the Arm Bars and Suplexes podcast. What's up, man? Welcome to the show.
What's up, man? I feel definitely special for being a special guest. Never been a special guest before, so that's awesome. You can find me on Twitter at TheRealJesus, and that's spelled JeeZus.
Absolutely. Always got to have that spelling in there. Before we get to the good stuff, I just want to say congratulations to my man, Paul. He got his one of his beats played during I believe it was a Longhorns radio show.
Yeah, so the local sports radio here is called Horn FM, and they cover the university. And they actually started streaming all their shows live on Twitch. And I'm a big fan of the show, so I just kind of knew how to get in contact with some of those guys there and pitch them my beats because I produce. And yeah, man, they started using them immediately. So my beats have been streaming nonstop on when they're on break between segments. And yeah, dude, now that you brought that up, I guess it's also a good time. So I'll be releasing another instrumental album. So that'll be coming out probably as early as Monday. And I'm going to send those right over to those guys. So hopefully you'll hear them either on the show or on the radio with Horn FM.
That's badass, man. You're going to have to send me that link so I can follow the Twitch channel because I like different Twitch channels, man.
Awesome, man. Congratulations on that, man. That's hard work paying off right there, man.
Yeah, and they even sent
you –
sent people your way to your Spotify, which is really badass of them. I saw from your Instagram post. So hopefully that gets you some traction and good things can happen. But let's go ahead and get into some good news also about the should we get to the bad news from me? Maybe we should get to the bad news from me, which is Gonzaga losing the national championship and handedly, I might add, handedly. I believe one of the guys from Baylor said they weren't ready for. They never played a team like them, and they did it, man. They destroyed them. It just looked like two different teams that were not. That one was completely ready, the other was not ready at all. But before that, we also got the Final Four matchups, and kind of similar. U of H looked like they weren't ready for Baylor. And I remember saying after that Baylor U of H game to my brother, if this Baylor shows up, Baylor is going to blow out Gonzaga. And that's exactly what happened. Any thoughts on that game?
No, absolutely. I mean, I know we got into it a lot, and that was sort of the main thing we were concerned about for U of H is like they kind of had this easy path all the way to the Final Four. Nobody really on their talent level. And sure enough, once they got to Baylor, they were just outworked from start to finish. U of H definitely doesn't have to hang their head, though. Like, getting to the Final Four was huge for the program. But just more specifically on Baylor, I mean, wow, man, like a lot of people were saying Gonzaga was like a team for the ages, and for me, like it was kind of like an energy and effort type of thing when I was watching that game. I was, Baylor was just had more pep in their step, and I don't know if it was because of that, the game before where Gonzaga was battling UCLA, to the buzzer, and maybe they were a bit lethargic, but I was definitely surprised that Baylor was able to take it away. And I was actually looking at the scores here, and the closest game that Baylor had, going back, my point about Baylor is that they did have difficult opponents. So they had number 9 Wisconsin, number 5 Villanova, number 3 Arkansas, number 2 Houston, and then 1 Gonzaga. So, they earned that.
Yeah, they basically played the favorites of each of the matchups before them. The games that they were going to play, their opponents won their matchup just like they're supposed to. Whereas, like you said, U of H was on a not a lucky, but just they were on the Cinderella bracket. Basically, they had different teams. Oregon State, Rutgers was the first big surprise that they had to play, and then once they get to Baylor. it just kind of blew up. I mean, Baylor's a really great team. It's something about those guys, man, that stick, that stay for multiple years, that aren't one and dones. And you're starting to see that more and more in the college basketball tournament. Is those teams that have time in with each other and that have experience. Those are the teams that are going really deep and winning the championship. You link back to, I believe it was Michigan State and no, sorry, Virginia and Texas Tech was the one where there were no one and dones. All the one and done teams were basically knocked out either fairly early or later on in the tournament. And it's just that's kind of becoming the norm now. I think is less one and done players or teams with less one and done players going further in the tournament, and maybe that could lead to more people not being one and done. Probably not, because I mean the just the idea of playing in the NBA and making all that money right out the gate is kind of hard to pass up. But it's interesting.
Yeah, man. For me, man, what I saw in that game was U of H just kind of, being like a deer in the headlights at the beginning and not understanding the level which Baylor was at. Maybe because, maybe Baylor hadn't been hitting their shots as much until basically that game, and the wide open shots, I would say, into that game. And then it just felt like they were throwing a rock into the ocean because everything was falling for them, man. I mean, everything was falling. And then, U of H was clawing back in and doing good things on the defensive side to get back in the game. And Baylor just wasn't having it, man. Like they weren't allowing it to go down that way. And, one thing you mentioned was that letdown of Gonzaga, getting blown out. And whenever you win a game like that, man, like they won against UCLA, it's almost like a relief. Like, oh man, we're in OT. Oh man, we won by, and you have that like release of we got past this game, instead of like we should be past this game. We should be, we're going to the championship and we're going to win the championship. So I feel like that has a little bit to do with it as well, as far as mentality going into that game against Baylor, and then seeing what Baylor did to U of H, and they're like, okay, like it just didn't seem like it was equally skilled teams out there. It was like Baylor and then everybody else. And to your point about the one and done thing, I think the different guys coming out of high school going into different avenues. Like I think, what was it? Is it LaMelo that went overseas? Yeah. Him. There's another guy that got signed to a G League team.
There's two first round projected talents that are in the G League.
Yeah, so I think you're starting to see a lot more guys go in there and not want to do a one and done deal, and want to actually, get better, play tougher competition, so they can go at, higher in the draft and get a better situation for themselves in the NBA if they are NBA talent. And even then, some guys aren't NBA talent, but they'll grow into NBA talent or have a good tournament and become NBA talent or NBA draft lottery talent. And then on top of that too, man, you have a lot of coaches that aren't with the one and done anymore. Like you have Calipari is not at the big programs anymore, and you have Roy Williams, who just retired. So he does, and they don't really normally do that, but the guys that are above and beyond and talent wise, they will do one and done with them, even though they're going to North Carolina or the Kansas or what have you. So it's just changing, man. I feel like the college game is changing a little bit now, and you're right. There's going to be more guys that are, juniors and seniors going out there, and more cohesiveness going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. And now that you mentioned the UCLA Gonzaga game, as always, congrats to our U of H Cougs for getting as far as they did. All you do is you just say, get back to the drawing board, get back there again, man. I believe we are losing Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes is a senior, so there will be no more Quentin Grimes. But we have to hope that the run they made in the tournament could lead to some more, not just Houston prospects, but a lot more nationwide prospects. I know Villanova just got two recruits, 2 4-star recruits. So that's big for Villanova, but we'll see more probably as we get closer towards the end of the year, more guys committing. But let's get to the UCLA game against Gonzaga. This game, and this is, I think I actually mentioned it to, I don't know if it was Jesus or Paul, but I mentioned that this UCLA team does not go away. and possibly maybe Gonzaga was going to be able to smother them, but they weren't, man. Like, they just were neck and neck the entire game. There's a point where you even thought maybe UCLA might start to run away with it, but Gonzaga stayed in it, got all the way to the end, and then you get that heartbreaker of a shot in overtime, man. I'm pretty sure I texted Paul right away and said, "That's not a shot you don't mind losing on that shot." Mm-hmm. That's a great shot. Just like I said about A. Smith when Oral Roberts lost, you don't mind losing on that shot. You just don't mind losing on that kind of make, man. It's just one of those ones where it's a great look, but at the same time, it's deeper out of it's deeper out into the 3-point range. I mean, you can't take into account you have to take into account the moment. The moment definitely weighs on, and Jalen Suggs probably really helped it. Probably solidified himself as the number 2 pick in a lot of mock drafts with that shot. So it was a great shot, great game. But you kind of had a point there, Jesus, is that, and a lot of people brought up that might have been the end of that might have been a sign of the end for Gonzaga, because that takes a lot of emotional, a lot of emotional weight and just puts it on. And maybe they just were out of gas in that Baylor game. And I think Shannon Sharp actually brought up a good point. Imagine if Baylor and Gonzaga had played each other, because that game got canceled. Imagine if they had played each other during the year and Gonzaga got a little taste of that, of the physicality of that Baylor team. Maybe they would have been a little bit more ready, but we'll never know. But just that I just want to say that game, that was a classic game. I think one of the great NCAA tournament game-ending shots for a tournament. I think we'll see on highlight reels for the ages.
Yeah, I want to give you some props because you took UCLA in that round before the Gonzaga matchup where they beat Michigan.
Yeah, I don't like. I'm not a big Michigan fan. I don't know why. I'm just
Michigan's grown up. In general, I'm not a huge Michigan fan, but since they got Juwan Howard, I'm trying to support them a little bit. I get that one. No, you called that one though, and UCLA. To be honest, UCLA played like a perfect game. Like, let's be honest, they were like hitting their shots. I think there was like towards the end, right before the game winner, there was like I forgot who it was on UCLA, but he kind of like forced the drive to the basket, and then Timmy drew the offensive foul on him. And that was probably like the one shot where I was like, man, that was like the first shot in like that in the span of like 8 minutes that was kind of forced for UCLA. The rest of them were coming easy, and sure enough, that was kind of the deciding factor towards the end of that period. But yeah, like what you said, there's going to be like good recruits coming to all these schools. And one thing I also wanted to mention that I heard recently was the transfer portal. So the transfer portal is at like a record high right now. There's about, I want to say 1,200 basketball players that are in the transfer portal. So there's going to be a bit like of a carousel. But it does show that kids are sticking around, right? They're getting older. They're sticking around. They're trying to find better fits for their skills, their talents. And I just wanted to throw that point in there since we're on that topic.
Yeah, I mean the transfer portal is probably one of the biggest things that's happening with college basketball and college football. Because keep in mind that Justin Fields was also one of those guys. He was from Georgia, realized he wasn't going to get the playing time that he wanted there when it made his way to Ohio State, and now probably the second. I'm going to say the second quarterback in most people's lists. I'd probably say on mine too. But I'm still pretty about all the other guys besides Trevor Lawrence. Like, Trevor Lawrence is kind of the only for real deal. Like, if Trevor Lawrence is gone and I'm picking two, 3, or 4 or 5, I'm looking at Kyle Pitts. I'm just like, that dude is legit. But
I think Trevor's confirmed, or Urban confirmed that they're gonna go with Trevor, right?
Yeah. Okay. It has to be at this point. I mean, I don't know. I think I was telling my brother. I was like, if any coach walked into that interview, that had to be the first thing they asked is, number 1 pick, who you taking? And if anybody said anyone except Trevor Lawrence, they're like, this is a great interview. Thank you for meeting us, but this interview is over.
I think they're projecting the first 3 picks are going to be quarterbacks.
Yeah, especially with San Francisco jumping up as far as they did. So,
another interesting tidbit there. On speaking of carousels,
we'll get there.
We'll get there. Let me save it.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there for sure. But yeah, and then Quentin Grimes for the U of H was also another one of those transfer portals. I think he came from Wisconsin and came home to Houston and had a great season for himself. But a lot of great stars, a lot of really good guys that I'm really hoping to see more of in either next year or in the NBA. I'm not sure, which is Jaime Jaquez and Tiger Campbell. Like those two guys, man. Jaquez is a big man that can shoot, and that's like gold in the NBA nowadays. If you can get a big man, look at Embiid. Like now that Embiid's got that outside shot, all of a sudden we're talking MVP. You know, like that outside shot matters a lot in the NBA. And Tiger Campbell, he's got to get bigger. I think he's got to bulk up a little bit. But same with Jaquez. They both still got their kid bodies, as LeVar Ball would say. He still ain't got their man body. But we'll see. But yeah, any thoughts on that game real quick before we jump to the kind of the mock draft that's immediately after the championship game?
On the UCLA game?
Yeah, or the championship game too.
Well, the UCLA game, man, just real quick, man, on that last shot, like the degree of difficulty, like let's say you're judging like a gymnastics, and you know how they have degree of difficulty shot. Mm-hmm. That shot right there, man, you know, taking that shot, drifting, leaning in, a guy, he's not like jumping at you, but he's underneath you, so you also got to worry about where you're landing, and you're just kind of it's just such a difficult shot to make with the time running down. Yeah, man, with the time running down.
And I personally hate those 3-point shots. Those ones at the top, I hate it. Right down the middle. They just don't work for me.
Well, what you do, it messes with your depth perception, man. Whenever it's just lined up like that, so it was just such a difficult shot, man. He didn't know it was in right away. I think as he let it go and it started going, he kind of realized, and he started running towards the table, which I thought was cool. That he also had that in his head that he wanted to celebrate on top of a table, like. You're literally getting to see a guy live out one of his dreams that he's had, you know, to win, get a buzzer beater and jump on the table for his team. It didn't end up in finishing the championship that way, but he at least has that memory, and that's going to be a big time, you know, play going forward or highlight going forward in all these Final Four stuff, Gonzaga games, anything like that. Just a really cool ending to the game. It sucks. Like I wanted UCLA to win. I always want underdogs to win. They were having a tremendous game. Like Paul mentioned, they were getting a lot of easy buckets. Even the last one right before that it was too easy for them to get that bucket, and it was enough time for them to run it back and shoot it. So it kind of bit them in the butt at the end, man. But it was just such a cool shot, man. Such a cool shot.
Absolutely. So now it's time to get to the question that I asked both of you guys that night. And I had this conversation with my dad, my brother. Is it better? And I want whoever's watching to also weigh in the comments. Is it better to be a number 2 ranked team and get blown out by the number 1 seed and look like you don't belong? Or is it better to not be there, not even be? You're not supposed to be there. You're the 11th seed, basically you're UCLA, and you lose on a tough shot that just. It's a heartbreaker of a shot. Which one's better? I'll start first. So I told my dad and my brother, I think it's better to lose on that shot, to be the team that's not supposed to be there, be the Cinderella team. You got nothing to lose, like everything to gain. Go out there and just play your game, just like they did. And you lose on a shot like that, you go to Jalen Suggs, you say, man, great shot, and you go home, and it hurts in the moment. But I think it doesn't hurt as much. Whereas I told them that U of H one, I feel like that's going to hurt for a lot longer. I don't know. That was my personal opinion. So I would like to, and they were all against me. And I was like, that's ridiculous. I would rather lose on a tough shot than get blown out like that. When it's different, and it's different if the 11th seed got blown out, I'd be like, oh yeah, they're supposed to get blown out. But you're the 2 seed. You get blown out the way you did. Obviously, it doesn't hurt as much after Monday because Baylor destroys Gonzaga. But still, in that moment, I think it hurts more to be blown out and feel like maybe we shouldn't have been here. And then you get like things like CBS Sports tweeting this was the road that the Houston Cougs had to take, basically like talking shit. And I'm just like, it's not their fault. They can't control who wins. Like
they played the schedule.
I'm sorry that they won their games and the teams that were supposed to win their games didn't win their games. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, that's not their fault.
So where do you guys stand?
I would. I'm with you, Alec. Like, I thought about it a lot because it's basically what happened, right? Like Baylor kind of blew out U of H, and then Gonzaga beat UCLA, right? So we got to see both of them live, and I think the main thing for me, the reason why I lean towards losing on a close game, is because you kind of have more of a feeling that you left it all on the floor, assuming you played like UCLA did. But maybe not every time. But assuming you did, you kind of feel like you left it out all on the floor. So that's my primary reason for leaning that way. I don't know what you think, Jesus.
I was kind of flip flopping back and forth this whole time since Alec put it on, gave me that question. And I don't know, man, like for me right now, I'm leaning towards being U of H, and like you got to put it in context too. And the reason why I say that is because, they're the 2 seed, but they're not technically the 2 overall seed. They're more like the 8 seed, maybe 9 seed, So they're not technically the 2 seed. So and the way they've been winning, they know who they play. They know that it hasn't been the toughest route to get to Baylor. But everybody knew that Baylor was in the bracket. And if you put it into context, yes, at that time, if you say at that time, then it's more difficult because, it's supposed to be a closer game. It's supposed to be a closer match, and you just got blown off the floor. Later on, you find out that this game is head and shoulders above Gonzaga too. So you lost to the champion. One, you lost to the champion. 2, it's Baylor and everybody else. So you can basically say you're number 2 or, the number 2 overall because of that. And then as far as on the UCLA side, I don't know, man. The thing that I struggle with UCLA is you're not supposed to be there technically. You're not supposed to be there technically. But if you're a team and you're playing for the end goal to win the championship, you have to believe in yourself. And if you think that you weren't supposed to be there on the floor with anybody in this tournament, then you deserve to lose how you lost or however you lose, because they shouldn't be better than you. And you proved it during that game that you're supposed to be on the court with this team. And on top of that, this team is supposed to be the greatest team of all time, undefeated, and they're going to win the championship because they're running through everybody and this and that. And you took them, into that, and you lost by that shot. That's crushing, because you could have taken all that momentum. You could have taken all that hype and just taken it away. And it could have been like, no, we knew we were supposed to be here the whole time. Y'all didn't know, but we in the locker room knew. And it was just been a set of circumstances. So that's why I kind of been flip-flopping. But I'll pick it's worse to lose as U of H, just because if you're that hard, like that high up, and you're number 2, and you're gonna play Baylor, you want to test yourself. I mean, we talk about this too on the MMA show and the ANS podcast. If you get blown out the water, man, and the number 1, that the one who you beat, it feels like you're not even supposed to be on that court with them, man. That's tough, man. You're supposed to be better than this. You're supposed to give them a challenge, and it really wasn't a challenge. So I think, to me, that's tougher, to lose to the eventual champ, even though you didn't know it was the eventual champ, without putting up anything of a fight.
All right, so it's a tough question, and if anyone who's watching the repeat, watching the replay or watching live, tell me, would you rather get blown out, or would you rather lose on a close one game? Because I mean, you could. There's cons to either one, man. Honestly, and pros to both of them. To the blown out, yes, but go tell your mom. On the blowout, you can take a nice little break after halftime. You just chill. Like, we're getting blown out anyways.
Well,
and at the same time, if you're the bench warmer, you want to get blown out because then you're gonna get some playing time.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of like North Texas, because I forgot who North Texas upset in the first round, but then they came right back, and I think they played Villanova, and Villanova blew them out. But like North Texas was like never supposed to win that first game, and once they won, they were like turned up, So
that was it.
I think when they got blown out, they were cool with that.
Yeah,
that's what it reminded me of.
Man, TSU too, man. The first game they played, that first half, they were kind of keeping close to the number one seed, whoever they play. I forgot who they played. And I was like, man, they got talent. They got some talent. If they put it together and they get confidence in themselves, they might make this a close game throughout the whole thing. And then after halftime, it was just like a snowball. You know what I mean? Like they adjusted. But that's what I'm saying. Like you're not supposed to be there, and then you are. So you should have been there to begin with. You just don't believe in yourself. You don't have that confidence in yourself, man. So yeah, we saw a lot of that in that tournament.
It was a good tournament, by the way.
It was great, man. It was a lot of fun. We missed it last year, man.
Yeah, man. I definitely missed. All right, so we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and get to some baseball, man. So we got some baseball finally here in Houston, all over the country, and it felt really good. I'm not normally a baseball guy, but I did do, as I told Jesus, I did do fantasy baseball this time for the first time ever. And it's made the viewing so much better. Just you have a hand in every game, really, and makes some of the games a lot more fun to watch. Whereas I'm always very happy to watch Astros games. Unfortunately, we're not watching it right now, but they are winning 6-0.
They're taking care of it.
Yeah, they're good. They don't need us. They're fine. They knew that we were gonna have that we had the podcast. They were like, no close games tonight. Let's blow them out so they're not missing anything, which is exactly what's happening. So that's awesome. But Astros having a very nice go of it very quickly. I believe they went 4-0. They lost the fifth game against the Angels, which is okay. And then now we are on so I believe we are 5-1 at the moment.
I think
yes, and we'll be 6-1 after this one. Barring any like crazy thing, but I mean, we don't have. We got Ryan Presley; he'll be okay. Yeah, we've been resting a lot of relievers too, and we've been actually moving around a lot more, so they're getting a little bit more rest because I picked up Paredes. Still haven't really gotten any points from him yet, but I know that the points will come eventually.
He's about to finish.
Okay, great. So, any thoughts on the Astros, man? They look really great in that first series against. They pulled the sweep out quickly against the A's. Had a little bit of a struggle in that first game against the Angels, but then picked it back up in the second game, and now handling the A's again. Unfortunately, we can't play the A's all season long, so there are going to be some slip ups. But what are you guys thinking on this opening to the Astros?
I'll let Paul go first.
I mean, for me, man, like I think the Astros are just like the team that doesn't die, man. I think a lot of fans didn't have super high expectations. It was kind of like an awkward offseason with, Springer leaving, and then you had Brantley kind of on the fence. And I think that caused a lot of fans' expectations to kind of lower. But dude, like here the Astros are again, off to a hot start. We've been going deep the past 4 years, and we always just run with the talent we have. I'm excited. Like the fact that they came out to a hot start just lets me know that the team is still committed to winning. You know what I mean? We didn't take a step back and say, hey, like let's develop more of our talent, anything like that. Committed to winning, and they're all in right now. Hey man, Dusty Baker in his first season, he was one of the last 4 teams, almost made it to a championship. And this team is stacked with talent. So, we're basically bringing the show right back, minus Springer. But, I mean, I don't see any reason why we can't make a deep run again. As far as winning the World Series, it's possible, but I think it depends more on the matchup, on who's there in the NL. But I'm feeling positive about the season. And, yeah, man, I'll leave that there. But, I want to get into some of this cheating stuff once it gets brought back up.
Yeah, we'll get there for sure.
For me, man, this hot start is I mean, I feel like it's also as great as it is, it's also being underappreciated. We don't have Framber, we don't have Odorizzi on the pitching staff, and once we get them, we'll be able to move maybe like a Christian Javier to the middle relief or a setup man, which is even crazier because of how good he did today. Mm-hmm. So and like I mentioned to Alec on our podcast, I think it's transitioning, which is crazy because even though look at all the runs we're scoring with the guys we have, we're kind of transitioning into more of a young pitching led team. Verlander's not here. Greinke's last year is this year pretty much, and we got a bunch of young guys: Urquidy, Valdez, Javier. McCullers is going to be the oldest guy, the veteran on the team for the next 5 years. So it's great. It's a great start, but also we didn't even have two of our stud pitchers as part of this start. On top of that, we had Brantley out for I think it was 2 games whenever he got hit by that pitch. Right. And the other guys just stepped up. We saw what's the guy's name? Chas McCormick.
Chas McCormick.
He hit a double in his first game, and he hit a homer in his second game. And the camaraderie that he had with Correa right there too. Correa making fun of him on that double, saying he needs to hit the weight room so he can get that homer. And they're just they're loose, is what I'm saying. They're loose. It sucks that they didn't extend Correa, and this is probably Correa's last year. But you can see that the talent is there. That we still have other guys in the farm that are going to end up coming up. And I feel like they're the team to beat, man. I know that a lot of people might say no because we lost, Springer, but we lost Springer, but we gained Alvarez. So it's the offense should be fine compared to what it was last year. It should be at the very least the same type of offense, and then our pitching, I feel, is going to be a little bit better this year because of the experience that they gained. So I'm excited for this year, man. I feel like there's going to be a lot of series wins. We're going to get losses here and there, but I don't think we're going to lose a lot of series, man. They're just a really, really deep team.
Yeah, unfortunately, we lost the 162-0 that I had predicted in the beginning of the season. But you can't win them all. You can't win them all. But I want to bring up what you talked about how the young guys are stepping up, like Chas McCormick, and to think that. Sorry, and to think that about what this team would look like if Springer would have stayed, or even if you think about the other way, what this team would have looked like if Brantley would have left. Don't forget, we were literally one report away. There was one report that said Brantley was going to the Blue Jays, and it made complete sense. Apparently, him and George Springer had gotten very close in their time here in Houston. So when I heard that, I was like, man, because in my opinion, he was probably one of the biggest gets in free agency, just based off of his efficiency, his batting average. He was and just what he brought to the team. I feel like he's one of the more underrated signings that we've had in a while here in Houston. I mean, most of the players we get are either through the draft or through trades. So I mean, I guess free agent signings we don't get too many like crazy free agent signings here in the Astros, but still, if we would have lost him, I feel like we would be a little worse off because I don't think what he brings is just on the field. I think it's 100% what's going on in the dugout, in the clubhouse, and to see these guys after the BS that happened last year with the whole cheating scandal and having to go through all that, to see these guys having fun again in the bullpen, because I feel like last year they weren't really allowed to have fun. Anytime they were seen having fun in the bullpen, you saw somebody on the national media talking crap about it, saying like this is ridiculous. They should be ashamed of themselves. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Now we're 2 years removed. We're able to kind of get past it more and more. I know you're still going to have the people that are still talking crap about it, and you just got to deal with it. You got the it seems like intentional peggings of players, the cheering of hitting guys in the wrist like Michael Brantley, who wasn't even on the team that World Series. But I mean, you can't argue with these people. They lack logic. they lack any kind of critical thinking, so they don't realize that. But to see us moving on past that, man, it just feels nice, feels good, and to see them winning like this. Because I believe last year, man, we started off really slow. Last year was one of those slow starts that I was actually worried we weren't going to make it to the playoffs because we tend to have those slow starts, but in a 162 game season, whereas last year I believe it was 70.
Yeah, it was a shorter season. I think it was 80.
Yeah, 80 games. So I was like, man, what if we don't turn it on when we need to? And we got there. We got all the way to the ALCS got beat out by the team that probably should have won the championship if it wasn't for one of the dumbest calls that I've ever seen in World Series history. Which, oh man, don't even get me started on that. I was like, how you gonna win for Tampa Bay coach? How you gonna win a manager of the year and then pull one of the dumbest managing decisions ever when they pulled that pitcher? Who was it? There was a Blake Snell they pulled.
Yeah, they pulled Snell.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, shout out for Dusty for keeping Greinke in that one game in the series. Y'all remember that?
Yeah, and Greinke talked about it. He said that it felt good having a what do you say? A team that believes in you and trusts you. He said so. He really held it against Hinch that he pulled him in that game, man.
Yeah, I'm hoping if this is his last year, he's still kind of motivated by that come postseason and really performs well.
Hey man, winning solves everything. That's what I've learned in sports. Winning solves everything. I know, like we're saying, like Correa's last season. Man, you win a World Series. It's hard to. It'd be hard to say no to that. I'm hoping that they can figure out the money thing, and I'm just I'm being optimistic. But I mean, winning solves everything. Look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Man, they're basically able to bring back everybody from that team last year, all because they're like, hey, I want one more season with Tom Brady or. It feels special here, so you never know. But at least with Greinke, I'm holding out hope. I don't know if I have too much hope for Correa. I think Correa is young and getting towards that. He's getting ready for that 10-year deal that most of these guys get around that age, and I just don't like giving away 10-year deals like that. If you're gonna give away a 10-year deal, give it to a guy like Tatis who's like super young, and you're getting his prime during those 10 years, not the back end of their prime, and then you're going to pay them while they're sitting on the bench.
I mean, but here's the question, man: is keeping that window open worth it? Like, is you getting 5 more years of prime career worth, and so 5 more shots plus this year, so this year plus 5 more shots at a world championship worth overpaying him the last 5 years? So, like, what would it be if I can tell you you're going to get 3 World Series appearances and 1 championship in 6 years, you wouldn't take that?
No, I don't think I would, man. It's hard to say yes to that, especially like the money that he's asking for. I know there's no cap in the MLB, thank God. It probably should be like that everywhere in all sports, but people will complain because I guess I don't know. I can't. Not for one championship.
But you're getting 3 World Series appearances though.
Okay, but you're telling me that we're gonna lose 2 of them.
You can't have it, man. You can't have it all. What if we leave and we don't go to the World Series at all because we can't replace his leadership and his bat and his defensive skill. He's probably the best defensive shortstop in the game right now. He played
big time last year.
Try and get above the shit, bro.
Yeah, man, there's just a lot to go with that, man, with that career. And I feel bad for Correa, too, because, I mean, as much as you can feel bad for a multimillionaire, but I feel bad for him because I really do feel he wants to be here in Houston. He wants to be like Bregman. He wants to, be in the city and the culture and everything. And it's just because he's going to price himself out because he deserves that. If all the guys, if Lindor got what he got, I mean, he should at least get that much. His WAR is right at Lindor. Or better because he has less games because he's injured, but still, if he has less games and he has the same WAR, that tells you when he's on the field, he's that much more valuable than Lindor. If they had the same amount of games, he surpassed the WAR by 2-3 games. So it's just it sucks because I don't think he's going to be here long term. I don't have the optimistic view that Alec does. I have the pessimistic view, like this is his last year, so let's just enjoy it while we can.
Yeah, I feel you. I think if we could get 1 World Series, like I'd probably do it because I feel like it would legitimize the previous World Series a bit more. So if I was like an owner, I'd probably be looking at it from that way too. But dude, Correa, I mean, last postseason, like he was the fire under the team. So I know what you mean, man. If we could get him like a 7-year deal, that'd be perfect. But I get it; he's looking out for his own bag. I don't know, man. I can't see him playing an Astros uniform for 10 more years. That'd be crazy.
Man, and the thing about it too is, man, is like in my mind, I want to believe that he'll take a 7-year deal at a discount. and say, but that would be so wrong for him. And I mean, look at the deal that Acuna signed and the crap that they got because the agent mishandled that negotiation, and basically he's the most underpaid player in the MLB right now, even more than guys are on their arbitration years. And that's kind of what it would feel like. Like, yeah, we got him at a discount because he wants to stay in Houston and we're going to get some championships with him, but he deserves to get paid like 30% more than he's been getting paid, And I don't think he's going to take that. Like if you have, I don't know, the Yankees 10-year, $325 million sitting in your lap, or you have the Astros 7-year, $260 million. I mean, who's he going to take, man? Like,
yeah, man, you got to take into account, like, especially when you bring up the Yankees. Like, I mean, everyone talks about the putting on the pinstripes, like how it's just a different feeling. And there's other teams too, like the Dodgers and the Red Sox. So many teams that have like more history and that don't have as much tainted history. Obviously, the Yankees have their cheating scandal just as much as we do, but it's much longer and more spaced out, I guess, and not as recent. But but I think with Correa, man, like, just imagine like years ago, bro, before we found out about the cheating scandal, years ago, I was saying in terms of the core, in terms of like the three young guys who are going to be up, I was thinking, okay, a great third baseman who can hit for power, hits home runs, and is charismatic, versus a outfielder who, same thing, hits very well, is really good defensively. And Correa was my number 2 guy to keep between those guys, between Bregman, Correa, and Springer. I was always like, Springer, you could find another outfielder that can hit well, but those infield positions are a little bit harder. Mainly that third base is always a little bit harder to find one that can hit consistently like Bregman has. But after the cheating scandal, man, and when I wanted to hear Bregman finally speak up and talk, because he was talking so much during that championship, he stayed quiet, whereas Correa was like, yeah, we cheated.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's play. And I love that, man. And then seeing when Valdez during the playoffs, dude, and how he got fired up during the at bat that the Rays batter had. I forgot who it was. I don't think it was Alcantara. I mean,
no. It was that what's his name? The big swole guy, the swole dude.
Yeah. And when Correa was backing him up, I'm like, dude, that's the kind of guy that you want to be an Astro for the rest of their career. And it just sucks that we're getting so close to the end of that, and I don't want that to happen. Like, if I don't want to trade anyone, but if I had to, man, like, I would trade anyone for Correa right now, just to say.
The thing about it too, man, is so a couple of things. One, he did that again today with Christian Javier. He settled him down after he got 2 hits and he had a runner on first and third, and he had 2 outs, and he punched out I forgot who it was, but he punched him out nasty, dude, looking. So he did that there too. So that's the leadership that you talk about. But I also think, like, you're right, man. Like, you wanted to keep Correa, but I also think Springer was kind of like a hybrid, because he was a center fielder and he had defensive skills and he had speed, but he was a leadoff guy, and he was your leadoff guy with power, which was kind of like kind of unheard of, and it was kind of interesting that they put him at the beginning. That was a genius move by Hinch, and it kind of stuck,
He was at the 3, or he was at the 2 or the 3, and Altuve was at the 1, and
then they switched him.
Altuve was struggling,
and they switched him, and it was game over from there. So it was kind of different. Like, it's not really a center fielder; it's your center fielder and your leadoff guy that you let go. But the thing about the whole situation as a whole is Correa is going to be a free agent in a free agent class of shortstops that's ridiculous. There's like 8 or 9 shortstops that are going to be out there, and there's some of them that are going to be underpaid, and they're going to be able to get you the same analytics that Correa gets you for much cheaper. On top of that, you got the guy that you just signed from Cuba, Pedro Leon, who they're going to be putting at shortstop in the minors, and they're going to be looking at him to be the replacement for Correa going forward at a much deeper discount than even the shortstop that are going to be free agents next year. So it's just a series of unfortunate events for Correa as an Astro and the position that he plays to not get paid here in Houston, and it just doesn't make sense from an analytics standpoint, man. Which sucks, like because again, I want him to stay, I want him to be here, but it just doesn't look like it's going to be in the cards, man.
Yeah, so I'm pulling up the free agent class for the upcoming year. So at shortstop, you've got, and this was just published on the 31st of 2021, so of March, sorry, by MLB.com. And the shortstops that we have going into it are Javier Baez, Carlos Correa, Corey Seager, Trevor Story, Andrelton Simmons, and Brandon Crawford. And that is a crazy class of shortstops. Like, that's insane. So, I mean, you can have your pick, but at the same time, like, one of these guys is going to set the market.
It's going to be Correa because of his age.
And he's going to set the market, and it's going to be crazy high. And they're going to say, like, hey, I've got more years on me. I mean, I got more years under me like that I can give. All kinds of things. I think one that kind of stands out to me is Trevor Story. I really like Trevor Story a lot. I'm not saying that we have a chance. I'm just saying that it'd be nice. It'd be nice. But yeah, just that's a crazy class, as you were saying. Andrelton Simmons, Brandon Crawford, Baez is probably a big name too that I wasn't really expecting to see there. You would think they'd already be locked down.
I mean, those are the big names, but there's like 4 other guys that aren't as well known that are serviceable and can do what you need done out of the shortstop position defensively, and they don't have obviously they don't have the bat that Correa does, but they have a bat. Like, they can get you through what you need. Like, they're going to be able to get on base. They're going to be able to drive some runs in. They're not going to have as much power probably because there's not a lot of 6'4" shortstops out there with power. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it just doesn't make sense for them to commit 10 years to Correa when you got these guys that are going to be available, and then you also are eyeing your own farm system for cheap talent, so you can spend money somewhere else on because if you look at it, you're going to have $60 million next year because you have $30 million from Greinke coming off the books. You're actually going to have more because you have $30 million from Greinke coming off the books. You got $30 million from Verlander coming off the books, and you got Yuli coming off the books. Gurriel is going to be off the books next year too, which I think his is only like $8 million. So you have like $68 million. So if you wanted to, you could pay Correa, but can you use that $68 million to bring in another ace, or you know what I mean? Like, where can you use that money in a better spot than for Correa for 10 years?
Right. Yeah, definitely. And go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, like, that's a good point, because maybe we see Jordan or Brantley kind of pick up some of the runs this year, and if Jordan could take more of that hitting on his own plate and put up more runs for us, I mean, maybe you don't even need to re-sign Correa. Maybe he has a breakout postseason or something like that, and now your offense is a little bit more thorough than you thought before because your young guys are developing, and maybe Correa wouldn't be needed. So that might also play a factor as the year expires. Is we'll see who steps up and who didn't. If it's still Correa leading the team in the postseason, well, I guess it makes it harder to let him go.
Yeah, and the Astros are widely seen as one of the better farm systems in the MLB. You see the homegrown talent we have here with Bregman, with Correa. We literally drafted Correa when he was 19 years old, man. Like,
he was 17.
Oh, 17. Sorry, yeah, 17 years old. It's so crazy, and to see him here as long. So we do have a great farm system, and then, as you said, with the taking up the slack, even now, man, like with the majority of the runs, we're not really asking too much of Correa at the moment because our pitchers are doing really well of keeping the scores lower, and also, guys like Jordan, guys like Bregman is coming alive. Correa just hit his first home run the other day, just got his second one tonight. Like, he's not up to he's not having to carry the load, which, as you're saying, with bringing in a young guy from off of the free agent market or calling up one of our young up and comers. Like, you're not asking them to come out here and do great. You're just asking them, hey man, just come in here and try to plug in, try to see what you can, try to find your role in the team. play defensively. That's honestly what I'd probably be worried about the most is just how are they defensively?
Defense,
I mean, because Correa is an insane defensive shortstop, man. So that's where I would like to see someone pick up the slack when we eventually lose Correa. I'm not really worried too much about runs because of the amount of power and the amount of hitting we got. Dude, we even have Miles Straw hitting great, man. Miles Straw is hitting really good at the moment. Which
I think
when
Tucker,
you can get a single on a pretty routine out, like the fact that he could do that, man, that's very rare.
and I think Tucker was probably the most consistent hitter last year, and this year he's kind of picked up where he left off. So Tucker's kind of paying off where he had a little bit of struggle.
Yeah.
But man, I just looked at it, man, and our farm system is actually the 29th ranked farm system because we only had one top 100 prospect, which was Forrest Whitley. And he just went down. He just went down with Tommy John surgery. The prospect that will never reach the majors. And then the top rookie for that they're prognosticating for this year is Luis Garcia, who we just saw him pitch like 2 or 3 days ago. I think he pitched, and he looked really good, man. He looked really good when he was pitching. I think we have a lot of players in our farm system that aren't as well known or don't have the hype or buzz that most of these other guys in the other farm systems have. And we have, I think, a little bit more of a track record of these guys paying off and being able to eye talent like Alvarez for Tyler White. So I think they'll be fine with that. And I think they're continuing to rebuild it. But it's just interesting, man. Like, they have so much money coming up in the next couple years. How do they use it to reinforce this team and to keep the window open, especially with the talent at pitching that we have going forward? It's going to be interesting to see what Click does to kind of not necessarily start over, but just to restock the offensive side of the ball.
Just a quick question. Does anybody remember John Singleton? I didn't think so.
Oh, my God.
Anyways, man, let's go ahead and kind of make the transition into a new cheating scandal. So we have a new cheating scandal here in the MLB, but this time it is not who you would expect, or I guess maybe you might expect if you're in Houston. Trevor Bauer has now been accused of cheating. The man who I believe has always he's got major FOMO. Like he's just doesn't want to miss out on the Astro stuff. I think he secretly wants to be an Astro because we constantly are living rent free in his mind. And I love it. However, this is kind of bad news for me because I do have Trevor Bauer on my team, and now that he would be cheating really sucks. And he is one of those guys that you can't drop. He's locked. You can't do anything with him. So I'll be stuck with him. Him and Juan Soto. But I mean, I don't think Juan Soto is going to be caught cheating. That's just a big dude. So here it is.
He'll get caught for steroids, if anything.
Yeah, exactly. So here it is. According to Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic, the MLB has collected multiple baseballs thrown by Los Angeles Dodgers pitcher Trevor Bauer during Wednesday's start against the Oakland Athletics. A source said the balls had visible markings and were sticky.
Oh.
So I'm reading on. Here's an interesting one. Bauer has long been outspoken about players seeking illegal advantages throughout the sport. In fact, in 2018, he openly questioned whether Houston Astros pitchers were using illegal substances to increase the spin rates on their pitches. It would turn out to be quite ironic if Bauer turned out to be doing something similar, but for now, there's no firm evidence. That is what happened. So, as we have to say, just to avoid any kind of legal problems, this is alleged. This is an alleged incident that happened. But I will just say this: how low is your self-esteem that you have to cheat against the Oakland A's? Just like is that
out of all teams?
Like it? I don't even want to get mad at him. I just want to be like, "Are you okay? Like, is everything okay?" Because you're cheating against the damn A's. Like, there's a problem here. Yeah, there's a problem here.
Well, I think when it comes to the cheating, man, obviously the Astros got the short end of the stick there. Baseball has had a cheating culture for years, dude. Like almost, I'd probably say a century, right? Like there's been steroids, there's been, cheating by pitchers, cheating by having corked bats. Everything has happened, man. But when it came to the Astros, and since they won the World Series and this came out sort of more from a third party source, everybody kind of flipped the table, and they're still trolling the Astros because of it. But truthfully, the MLB has in a way promoted that type of culture. Even when the Astros, when the commissioner looked into the Astros scandal, he kind of swept it under the rug. Let's be honest. Hinch got fired, their general manager got fired, but Astros kept the trophy. The players kept going on. I remember before the season started, there was an interview with Josh Reddick, and they asked him, well, was it all worth it? And he was like, he kind of just held his breath because for them it was. They won a World Series, right? But aside from the Astros point, like when I think of the MLB, that there's cheating going on. Maybe not on a nightly basis, but teams are always working to get that competitive advantage. So I think maybe for the past year, the MLB has kind of been in this state of teams are like very cautious about cheating. They don't want to get dealt the bad card that the Astros got and just kind of shitted on by the media. But I think it's going to come to light eventually. And of course, someone else is going to try and cheat. Maybe it's Trevor Bauer. Maybe it's the Dodgers. Maybe it's another team in the future. But it's going to happen because it's always happened in MLB history, and it will continue to happen. And I think once we reach that point where it happens again, and in the public eye, they realize that this is going on a wide scale in the MLB, that the Astros are kind of going to get some relief. It might not come immediately, but it will come eventually because they're not the only team that's ever cheated. For God's sakes, Barry Bonds had steroids allegations, and he's the home run leader, So all throughout the history books, the cheaters have won. I'm not saying it's the right thing. I'm just saying that's what's happened. And the fact that, Trevor Bauer, the main guy pointing the finger, was actually cheating, sometimes like, the main people who make the ruckus are the guilty ones, right? So, yeah, man, it's alleged. If it does happen to Trevor, then I don't want to hear any LA fans say anything again, and that'll be another team off the Astros checklist, so we can keep going down.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of great points there, man. And my thought process too is, MLB is in a tough spot because they can't, open the can of worms. They can't take the toothpaste out of the whole container, or whatever, because they can't put it back in. And if they do their due diligence and actually do a real investigation, which they probably already have, and they probably already know, I'm sure they do. There's widespread cheating going on right now. Even right now, they just haven't figured it out or haven't found out how to catch them. But it would tarnish the game. And I think that's one thing that the commissioner, Rob Manfred, is doing everything in his power not to tarnish the game. Because if you tarnish the game, then people will stop watching it or stop being attracted to it. And I don't mean a lot of people. I mean enough people where it makes a difference, where it can grow into apathy, where people don't want to watch it because, oh, man, these guys are cheating and they cheat better. Or it doesn't matter. They're cheating. They're not going to win, So he has a very fine line to walk as far as, punishing people that cheat and punishing those that don't cheat but are probably cheating and just not doing it out in the public. And I think, Bauer is going to be probably the guinea pig or the one that they're going to kind of make an example of from the pitching standpoint, so that they show that, hey, if you are caught cheating, we're bringing down the hammer so you don't cheat anymore. So I say sorry to Alec about that because he's on his team, but I think Bauer is going to be in for a world of hurt going forward. And as far as like what you mentioned, man, the cheating's been going on forever in baseball. It's part of it. Like I don't even like get mad at it as much, and it's not because the Astros were doing it. It's just because and the other thing you mentioned too, if they start getting caught or other people start getting caught, it brings some relief to the Astros. Do you guys remember how the steroid scandal started?
No, go ahead and explain.
It was
Maybe.
Jose Canseco writing a book about it and exposing everything. But now we don't remember Jose Canseco, right? We remember everybody else and Alex Rodriguez and this and that. So he was the first one, and he came forward and he said, "I'm guilty. I did it my whole career," and he got beat up for it for like 3 months, like really beat up for it. And then everything else came out, and then nobody remembers him. And I feel like you're right. Like if more people start coming up, like. I know the Yankees are there's still some litigation going on about some letter that Manfred is hiding that exposes the Yankees cheating, and then you have Bauer now being investigated. As more of this stuff comes out, I feel like the Astros are going to be like, okay, yeah, we gave them a hard time because we thought they were the only ones, but now we have legitimate proof that it's more than just them.
Yeah, and you brought up what I was going to bring up, the fact that the Astros were kind of treated as a scapegoat. We were the face of the cheating scandal, and I'm pretty sure the Rob Manfred was just like, guys, just stop. Like, we're going to punish the Astros a lot.
Yeah.
We're gonna put it all on them, but just know that we also investigated y'all. We know you're doing it, so just don't do it anymore, or I can't really stop it. And I was trying to point out, in all sports, man, like things are treated differently based on the teams that are dealing with it, based on the athletes who are dealing with it. So you look at baseball. Imagine if this came out about the Yankees, or the Dodgers. I don't think that it would have been taken as seriously as it was, because it's one of those teams that they're constantly talking about. Like, turn on the national media. If it's not Dodgers or Yankees, no one's talking about it. It's one of my biggest issues with during our World Series run. It was my biggest issue with the national media, was like, there's no talk of the Astros. Like, what's going on? Like, how is this not a thing? If the you look at at MMA, things are kind of, if it's a certain fighter, you look away. If it's not, you punish them. You probably look at all the Brazilian fighters that are juiced up to the gills. I'm looking at you, Paulo Costa. You look at those guys that Dana likes, doesn't punish them. Same with the NFL. I believe I'm pretty sure I even said during COVID when the NFL started playing, and they canceled the Titans and Steelers, or they moved back the Titans Steelers game so far or back and whatever. I was like, dude, the only way that they would cancel the season is if Patrick Mahomes catches COVID or Tom Brady catches COVID. Like, these other players that you're hearing about catching COVID, they don't care. Like, he's not going to stop it for them. But it's certain players that it'll get stopped for, and that's just kind of the thing that you got to deal with in sports. The Astros aren't a top team. They're not a
top market.
Yeah, so you're not going to get talked about. I mean, they're not going to worry about it. About protecting the Astros, whereas, like you said, with the report that came out, apparently there were a lot of big name teams, including the Yankees. I believe I even saw I want to say, was it not the Dodgers? I want to say
it was Boston.
Boston, there you go, Boston. Which I mean, they got theirs too, but at a lower scale. Yeah. So
and y'all remember who the Astros beat on the way to the World Series? Yankees, Red Sox, and the Dodgers.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's the biggest problem with sports nowadays, is that it's all about who's playing. And I always go back to one time when it was a national game. It was Texas Tech versus Virginia, and you have Stephen A. Smith on national TV saying that he doesn't give two F's about this game because it's not Duke or Kentucky. I'm like, you're a sports analyst, and you're saying this to people that are listening. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing I could have heard ever. If that's the case, just don't make a tournament, don't make a season anymore. Just put the two teams that you want. And he says the same thing about the NBA, when it's like he doesn't ever want to go somewhere cold during the NBA finals. Like, dude, get over it. Like, that's you get paid to go watch basketball games.
Yeah.
And talk about it.
And real quick, man, to add to your point too, like, and I know it's difficult for us because we're actually here and we're fans of Houston sports teams. So it's kind of hard to say it, but I truly mean this. The Houston teams aren't treated the same, man. Like, I'll give you a prime example that just happened. For his entire career here, it's boring. I don't want to watch James
I know where you're
Harden.
going.
I don't want to watch James Harden. He's boring. He just
MVP.
he just gets fouled a lot. This and that. Man, the second he goes to the Nets, man, the Nets are fun to watch. Oh, James Harden, his passing is amazing. Why? Because he was in Houston, and Houston is looked at in a different manner than New York sports or Los Angeles sports. So it's just ridiculous, man. And hopefully your boy Bauer does get caught red-handed, and he gets the beat down for he gets suspended for as long as he's on Alex's team.
hey, that's okay. I also have, dude. I have Flaherty. I got Maeda. I got Alcantara. I'm good. I'm good on pitching. I think I'm good on pitching. I'll be all right. I could use another reliever anyways. But like you were saying with the Rockets, man. I mean, I was the biggest reason why I was like, I don't know if I can pick James Harden as my MVP because I was here in Houston watching what he did for those first 2 weeks. Like exactly. I got to see him be fat. Come to your job. Come to your job. That's like me going to my job not having a hammer or tools. They'd be like, "Why'd you even come? Why are you here?" That's the equivalent of James Harden showing up out of shape, showing up. Anybody else, they would have been trashing him. If LeBron James would have showed up, not even the same shape that James Harden was, just less muscular, they'd be like, "LeBron, what are you doing?" But because it's Harden and it's because of the Rockets, they didn't give a shit, and that's why I can't say he's the MVP is because I had that fucking brain in my brain. Guess who didn't do that? Embiid has been phenomenal the entire season. Like, get out of my face with that James Harden shit. But at the same time, and I love James Harden. I'm cheering. I hope he gets a ring. I hope that they win the title because then it'll just be, I don't know, just have this like connection to him. I hope for his success. I don't hate James Harden by any means. I just hate how he was treated and kind of just like not appreciated. He was unappreciated when he was here in Houston, and now that he's in Brooklyn, he's getting that appreciation. But seeing all these like, man, look at James Harden doing this. Like, I can't believe he's passing. I was tweeting back to him. I was like, he's been doing this in Houston for like 7 years. Like, what do you mean that's crazy? He's doing this. And I'll go back to when the Rockets took the Warriors 7 games in the Western Conference Finals. And before every single game, every single national media guy, because I was a big First Take and a big Undisputed guy, it was a constant, the Rockets are getting swept, or got to what they won a game, like, oh, well, they're going to lose now. They're going to be a gentleman's sweep. Constantly from every single person, every single one. Probably the only one that didn't do it was Nick Wright because he's a local guy. Yeah, he reported on this. He gives the Rockets some love sometimes. But I was calling for people's jobs. I was like, how do these guys still have jobs? Like, you can't be that wrong. Like anybody else's job, at your job, at my job, I can't be that wrong and still have a job. Like, that's ridiculous.
I saw somebody tweeting about Dominique Foxworth on Get Up with Greeny. Someone was tweeting. This was like unofficial, but they said that they worked with him, and he told him, "Look, I'm gonna say the most ridiculous thing possible every chance that I get."
Dude, and they do, man. Like, they just say the ridiculous stuff. They go with what's popular. I literally heard Chris Broussard say today that it's over. Give the title to the Nets. They're winning because Kevin Durant had 17 points last night. And then when Nick Wright calls him out, he was like, "Well, not now, but when he's healthy." What you just said, give it to him. Like, you can't say give it to him, but then add like a disclaimer to it. Like, what is this? I just don't get it, man. Like, is that might be the way to succeed? And if that's the way to succeed, I don't want to succeed.
That's what it is, man. Just outlandish statements that are like delivered with certainty. I'm certain. I don't know. I'm certain. What's his name? What's the guy's name? The other guy, his other player over there, Irving. I'm certain Irving is gonna go. Triple double every game in the playoffs. I'm certain. Like you just gotta, the way you deliver it, you have to do it. And that's what they get by on. And dude, like, I mean, even when you were mentioning Stephen A. Smith, dude, I remember listening to him last year and him name dropping guys that were hurt, that weren't even on that team anymore, and it's like, come on,
don't forget about the time that he said Dwayne Haskins was a mobile quarterback, and not really much of a passer, and then Dwayne Haskins had to tweet out like, dude, I'm not a running. I barely run. And then he ran.
Or I think he my 40-yard dash. Yeah, his 40-yard dash.
Like, dude, seriously? Like, and it's just wild, dude. It's crazy how misinformed these guys are, how wild they go. That's kind of why I like Skip, even though I know he does his crazy thing too.
His bit.
He does, but at least he's like he does it to be against the norm. Like, he's not trying to be all up on LeBron's jock. He's more on Kawhi's jock, which is fine. It's against the grain, you know. But
he plays devil's advocate just to play devil's advocate without saying he's playing devil's advocate.
Like, there are half the times I don't think Skip Bayless believes the things he said, but I like when he challenged if Shannon Sharpe, how he was like 100% sure that Gonzaga was going to win the title, and Skip said, "Give me the field." On a bet, he's like, "Give me the field," and he took the field, and he was like, "I did." He got it. So it was just that's why I like probably skipping Shannon more. They have a little bit more fun, and it's also fun to see when Skip goes his crybaby thing, like when he was like, "It's my turn."
Well, yeah,
you remember that?
That was a classic, man.
That's something hilarious. But
I still look that up from time to time. That was
dude, I love it. I'll never forget whenever when he finally got back on the Kawhi train, and he came out with his Kawhi shoes on. And he was like, "That's it, I'm back." He's like, "Kawhi, I'm back, baby. What it do?" And I'm like, this is I love it, man. He doesn't give a shit what he looks like, and I mean, he shows it because he even says he only follows like one person. Like, he doesn't follow anybody. He doesn't respond. He's the opposite of Shannon Sharpe, because Shannon Sharpe will have a back and forth with you, and when he loses, he'll say that you look stupid in your avatar. I've seen that happen before. But like Shannon, but Skip, he won't reply to you. He probably doesn't even see what you say to him. So I mean, he's the like epitome of don't give a fuck. Just say what you have to say, and it's like dropping a grenade in a room and just like walking out. Like just see what happens.
That's hilarious, man.
It's amazing. But going back to like crazy statements, I'll try one here. The Rockets are going to be taking Cade Cunningham in the NBA draft when we get the number 1 pick. Does that count, or is that too close to happen? Is that too close to happening? So I'm gonna go ahead because we haven't talked to any Rockets.
They just won.
I know, man. They're doing the wrong thing. I don't know what's good. They need to. Yeah. Somebody needs to tell Kelly Olynyk, dude, calm down.
Chill out.
We're trying to lose.
His first game here, he was like just giving way too much effort.
We're just like, dude, do this next year. Wait next year and then ball out. Be the Kelly Olynyk that we know and love. My brother-in-law, he's a Heat fan, so he loves Kelly Olynyk. So when he calls him Maple Dick. That's what he calls him.
Oh my god,
he loves him, dude. And I mean, he's really good, dude. But I want to lose. I do want to lose because I want this number 1 pick. But I'm looking at the Yahoo Sports one that was done on Tuesday, immediately after the pick. So I don't know if you guys want to go through a couple of these picks and just take a look. We have 3 of them. So there's some interesting conversation we can have there in this first round. So we'll go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen, change it up for you watchers and listeners. If you're listening, why don't you should watch. You should watch with us.
And if you're watching, you should listen.
Yeah, if you're watching, you should listen too. That's fine. Change it up. Here we go. Sharing the screen. This is from Yahoo Sports. Kristen Peak. I don't know how good this is. I just know it's the most recent one I could find. So obviously at number 1, and this is all based off of. Well, it says from Tankathon. I'm assuming that's a website that tells you who has the best odds of getting the number 1 pick. So the first one you have here, Minnesota Timberwolves. This is a no-brainer. This is you can't fail this, and if you fail it, you should probably be fired. Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham is by far the number 1 pick in the NBA draft, unless Jesus or Paul want to try and get us famous and say something crazy.
The Texas Longhorns. No, just playing. No, dude, absolutely. I mean, this guy's 6'8", 220. I mean, he's basically hardened size as a guard. Like, I mean, just from the physical standpoint alone, it'd be hard to pass up on this guy. And not to mention, like, he's a pretty legit. Mentally he's legit as well because I saw him play this year a lot, and he had some big shots. It's a no-brainer for me for him to go number one.
And I don't want him to go to the Timberwolves because him with Anthony Edwards would be scary, and Cat. That would be definitely
they've had too many chances also, like
man,
in the draft.
We just got Anthony Edwards last year. Like, come on. So
yeah, you can't just keep being worse every year and getting all the picks.
I thought that was the point. Like, that was the idea of the draft lottery, is to stop the worst team from getting the number one pick, and they keep getting the number one pick, and they keep getting it. But it is what it is. I'm hoping anything can happen in the draft lottery. I believe is there a disclaimer or like a something against our pick this year? Is it like if we're out of the top four?
If we're out of the top four, it goes to I forgot who it goes to, but it is not. It doesn't become ours.
Yeah, so we need to make sure it's at least top four. Yeah, keep losing, guys. But Cade Cunningham, great player. And a lot of times you see these great players have early exits in the tournament because a lot of times they're carrying the load of their team and they kind of have to do a little bit more than they have to, and the tournament is not made for that. So. Yeah, definitely a first-round exit doesn't get him. Right here at number 2, we have Jalen Suggs going to the Houston Rockets. This I think I like more than Evan Mobley, which is what people were saying. Because I don't necessarily want a center. I do want a little bit more guard help. I know Kevin Porter Jr. has been playing great, and I love seeing it. But if you're able to get a guy like Jalen Suggs to be either underneath him or maybe move KPJ to the 3 if possible. I'm not sure of KPJ's size measurements, but definitely would like Jalen Suggs, especially after that shot, man. Like after him hitting that shot, like you said, with the degree of difficulty, it's hard to not want a guy like that on your team.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, we got Porter. We also got Tate. And those guys, I don't know, they're young too, but you're right. I mean, Jalen Suggs is hot, and bringing him in, I don't know, would it be much of an upgrade? And then you have to move around. I feel like Porter has, I think he has a size of, like, he's not as big as Harden was, but he has the height for sure. So I don't know, maybe he puts on the weight, becomes a 3. But I think he's a natural, like more of a two guard, maybe 1 guard. So yeah, man. I mean, if they're at number 2, I think they're picking best available. I don't think they're picking, I think Mobley's too. He's too thin, man. He's too like small to be. And maybe he can put on weight, maybe. But I just don't. And we got Christian Wood too, so I don't think.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned moving him over to the 4, but I think he's good at the 5, man. He puts a lot of mismatches out there. They have to come out and respect his shot. So it would change if you move him over to the 4. It would change the type of offense that you kind of run with him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it just seems like the Rockets are just like rich in guards right now. Like, you have KP Porter Jr. and then even to an extent, like you have John Wall, and then you look at like the top talent in the draft is Jalen Suggs and Cade Cunningham, and there's also Jalen Green, and all these guys are guards too, so it kind of puts them in a difficult position. But I'm with you, Jesus. Like, just take the best one possible. I mean, there's no rush when it comes to like developing these guys. So you might as well kind of see who's going to develop the best, and you can always move one of them in the future if you don't need them. I mean, it obviously would help if you get Cade Cunningham over the rest of them. That'd be more of an obvious choice, and you build around him. But yeah, if not, I mean, Jalen Suggs, that's a solid pick. I wouldn't be mad at that.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I said, or what about, because the most value that it's going to have in a trade is before you make the pick. So what if they feel that the guards they have now, minus John Wall because he's already a veteran, but the guards they have now, their ceiling is higher than a Jalen Suggs, would they rather just trade out of the number 2 pick since they didn't get Cunningham?
Now the thing about the NBA draft is that all pick trades have to be done before the draft starts, because once the draft starts, you can't trade picks. You can draft a guy. You can draft a guy and then trade that and have an idea. Like I think I forgot who did that recently, but yeah, you just like basically talk to the team you agreed to trade with, and like, okay, I'll draft him. You draft this guy, then we'll just swap basically. But yeah, it had to be before the draft. But
that's what I'm saying. Like Rockets don't really need guards. This is a guard heavy draft. A team that may need a guard, would it benefit us, the Rockets, to trade out of it, since we already got some decent guards on the team? Like that's what I'm saying. Like, is it better just to trade out of it if we can't get the number 1 pick?
I think not with these two, man. So with Cade, I think Cade is just one of those guys who he's just incredibly talented. He's he's kind of a freak in certain aspects where you just kind of you got to take him. The one thing I don't like about Cade is I don't think he has the explosiveness that you would want from a guy his size. But I mean, that can be worked on. But with Suggs, man, like Suggs brings, when you see what this kid's made of, he brings certain things that not even necessarily in his skill set, but just he's a dirty player, man. Like he gets down and dirty. He's willing to get in there and hang with the big boys. You know, that block that he had on the I'm reading it right here. The block that he had on Cody Riley late in the game, down low, man. Like that's a kind of shot. I mean, that's a kind of defensive play you don't necessarily see from guards in the NBA nowadays. And to have a guy like that, I would like more. I also, I'm pretty sure we're probably going to be done with John Wall by next year. John Wall's probably going to be either be traded or.
But I don't think can you trade that contract though, man?
I mean, you're right. It's either that or he just had to let it die down, I guess, or let it expire. But teams do get desperate right before the deadline. The deadline, people, teams that are on the precipice or on the cusp start to get a little worried. You look at Miami. I know they didn't give up much, but they went and got Depot. I don't know how good he's doing for him. Haven't paid attention, but they're willing to do that. And I mean, I don't know. It's just something to keep in mind. I think that Suggs, I like those players that just rough around the edges. I don't know. I like those guys because they're not easy to come by. And I mean, you think about the last one that we had, or at least the last one that I kind of remember is Patrick Beverley. Like, I mean, everyone loved Patrick Beverley here in Houston. As soon as he went to the Clippers, his star he started to kind of fade away. But a guy like that who plays defense and works on the other side of the ball, like I want that on the team. I'll say.
So, who would you say is more geared towards the offense of Silas? Is it Suggs or Cade?
Ooh.
I mean, not even the offense, like both offense, because defensively it'd probably be Suggs.
Yeah.
But just overall a better fit,
I feel like if we got Cade, it would be more of a shift in the offense compared to Jalen. Like I think it would be more focused around his style of play.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to getting Jalen, it'd be like, all right, we're still running the same offense. You learn it this way, but with Cade, it might be more, have some ISOs, have some plays to his strength.
Mm-hmm.
Him and C Wood. So I would probably say Jalen is probably more of the plug and play, but Cade would be more of a dynamic. Yeah,
and that might be something that Silas wants, man. Like, he might want to have something where he can kind of do something crazy. I mean, he's known. Yeah. One of the reasons I was happy we picked him up was because of his developmental skills, what he can do, and how he can bring out a player's talent. And if he can make Cade Cunningham even better than what he is, whether it means changing up the offense or whatever, I'd be interested to see it. So I guess if I got the choice, obviously I'm going Cade, but that would probably be a much more of a process during the offseason, is getting that kind of worked around and finding an offense that fits Cade. Whereas Jalen Suggs, like you said, could be just put him in there, let him do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a good point too. Like Dallas is struggling this year, without Silas kind of helping Luka, So that's a good point. It definitely could be that.
So right here, number 3, we got another guard coming off of the board, Jalen Green from the G League Ignite. This guy before the tournament was actually projected at number 2. This guy, and I believe there's one more G League guy, not Evan Mobley. There he is, Jonathan Kuminga. These 2 guys were the ones that were talked about most at 2 and 3 really before the tournament happens. Obviously, with tournament play happening, and I'm not sure how much I'm not paying attention to a lot of G League stuff, so I don't know much about this guy. Do y'all have any insight into him?
The only thing I remember about Jalen Green is his size. I mean, he's 6'6", and he plays like a guard, and he can kind of create his own shot, and he has just a nose for the offensive side of the ball. I mean, and even then, right there, you're reading right there, he was the only player on the team to score 30 points in the game. So he can get his own shot, man. So that's what I remember about Green and his size.
All right, so I mean, not a bad pick from what it sounds like. And you know what, he's playing against guys that are trying to get to the NBA as hard as they can. So that's kind of an uptick in competition. If I can say that.
Before you go to the next one, I mean, if you're the Rockets, you got a 6'4", 6'6", or 6'8" guard. I mean, that's pretty solid, dude. So hopefully we at least get top 3.
Yeah, and then coming in the number 4th pick, we have the first 7-footer coming off the board, which is Evan Mobley. I think, like you said, the only thing I'm really worried about is his size. But if he's able to, these thinner guys. You look at like Porzingis. Embiid's a big body, but he is a little slimmer. But then you have guys like Joker who look like they're big and act like it. So it would be an interesting fit, especially in the Cavaliers. They have Jared Allen over there in the Cavs, so he'd probably be playing underneath him. So that'd be interesting to see. Maybe he gets a few years to kind of grow into his body and then do his thing, because he is only a freshman. You've got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, the only problem with that, though, man, is like there's been a lot of guys that are thin like that people say, well, he puts on some weight, goes to the weight room, and then it never happens, and they're always that thin, and they can't really, keep up with the rigors of being a big man in the NBA, in a man's game. So that's my concern, man. That's why I'd be heads. I mean, he's really talented, man. I saw a bunch of his games this year. Him and his brother, they're really play well together too. But it's just for me, big guys within frames, it's tough to have a lot of what is it? Not positive stuff, but just like to be able to think that they can make it in the NBA.
I will say, it does say here that he has a 7'5" wingspan. Which is Jesus Christ, dude. But and he also had so he recorded 95 blocks and finished first in the country for the highest box plus minus, edging out the Player of the Year Luka Garza. Which that dude Luka Garza, man, I'm looking forward to seeing that kid in the NBA too. But yeah, I mean, like I said, you don't want him to be one of those players that we talk about. Oh, he just got to bulk up and then never bulks up like that. Then it looks like that's just a bad argument.
Yeah, man. I mean, Kevin Garnett was like that. Even though Kevin Garnett's Hall of Famer, but like a Hashim Thabit guy, like everybody always said.
Don't say that name.
Well, I mean, that's what they would say. Oh, he's gonna get in the NBA diet program, and they're gonna put a lot of weight on. Man, nobody could put weight on that guy, man.
I used to hate that stupid patch.
Mo Bamba from Texas too, like, because I saw him play a lot here at the university, and he got drafted to Orlando. When he got drafted there, I was like, damn, dude, like I did not think they were gonna develop him well, and he's expected to get more playing time, this season, but it was the same issue. Like here at Texas, he was slim. He was a 7-foot guy knocking down threes. And, they said the same thing when he gets in the league. And once he got to Orlando, since then, man, hasn't been great.
Dude, look at Taco Fall. I mean, Taco Fall is another one of those guys.
Yeah, true.
It's just
I mean, it works in college, man. It works in college because there's obviously not that much height or not that much athleticism. It's only like one guy per team because it's more spread out. But when you get to the NBA, man, everybody could dunk over you. Everybody could out jump you. Everybody's as fast as you. So it takes on a different. That's why I'm telling you, man. I would like to stay away from, big guys that are rail thin, and that's exactly what this guy is.
All right, here number 5 at the Orlando Magic, you got Scotty Barnes. They're in full rebuild mode, so I don't expect much, but you can expect that this guy will get some playing time because there's not really anybody there.
Orlando's always in rebuild.
That's sad. Like, they're in rebuild mode.
They just trade all their talent.
They've been in rebuild mode, dude. And you had talent like Aaron Gordon and Vucevic. Like, Jesus, man, that's crazy.
I know, man.
Jonathan, so number 6, the Wizards, Jonathan Kuminga, another G League guy, a guard. Just stop me if you see anybody y'all guys want to talk about. First Baylor guy. First Baylor guy taken off of the board. You got Davion Mitchell, and they actually compare him to Donovan Mitchell, which, I mean, we all know how Donovan Mitchell is doing here in the NBA, but this pick to the Raptors, that would be a really good pick, man. I like the coach there in Toronto. They already kind of have a winning culture over there. So, I mean,
kind of like a passing of the guard from Kyle Lowry to him, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And Kyle Lowry's on the way out. They're already, I mean, there were rumors of
trying
him
to trade
traded.
him, right?
Yeah, there were rumors of him possibly getting traded. So, be a good fit for him over there. Maybe get one more year under Kyle Lowry. And if there's a good player to learn from, it's Kyle Lowry. Like, Kyle Lowry literally was the second guy getting replaced over here in Houston by Goran Dragic, and ended up taking. And I mean, obviously it helped, but he was a mainstay over there when they were winning the championship. So that's a good mind to pick, a good brain to pick if you're Davion Mitchell.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, next up we got Orlando Magic and another one with Keon Johnson from the University of Tennessee. I didn't really watch any Tennessee hoops, so I don't know much about him. Moses Moody from Arkansas. This guy was given who was he given the business? Who did they? I had them.
Oh, I remember this guy now.
Yeah, man, this guy he's hard nosed. He plays hard. A nice little guard from. He's 6'6", which is these guys, man. These guards are getting bigger every goddamn year.
Yeah, you're right.
It's
like the number 9 pick, 6'6", 205, freshman.
And then you got Jalen Johnson from Duke. Obviously didn't get no tournament play, but that Pelicans team is really starting to build up a lot of talent. If they could just get a good coach, man. Just get a good coach. Get rid of Stan Van Gundy. What are you doing? What are y'all doing?
They're not improving, that's for sure.
Oh man, I feel so bad too because, dude, and I was one of the biggest Zion deniers. I didn't really care for Zion. I thought John Morant was the better player in that draft class, and now I'm wanting to tune into Zion games because of how good he's playing and how well he's doing, but it's hard to watch when there are always losses. Like the great stats don't matter in losses. It sucks, but that's just how it goes. Like he just had a streak of, I think it was like 36 or like 30 something points in like a huge amount of, and like I think like 30 something games or something like that. I had to look up what it was, but it just got broke yesterday. But he's having a really good year, and it just sucks that you should be a 5-6 seed if you have Lonzo Ball, B.I., Zion Williamson with some JJ Redick and Josh Hart shooting from the outside. Like you should be in that middle of the pack somewhere, and it's just it's not a good look for Stan Van Gundy. This might be his last year. But Jalen Johnson, I mean, getting another forward over there would be a good thing for him. 6'9", 220. So we'll see what happens with that.
I think just a note on them, I think the talent is there. It's more about like the pieces fitting together, and it's, to me, I can't exactly tell if it is because of coach or because of maybe the Lonzo Ball fit is a bit awkward still. But yeah, I mean, the talent is there. So, maybe in a year with another explosive player from the draft, we'll be able to tell who's really causing the issues.
Yeah,
But I
there's
mean,
there's a lot of young guys there too,
yeah,
so that are being leaned on to provide the bulk of the offense. And I think that has something to do with like you mentioned, Paul, where it's like, is it a square peg in a round hole? And so is it the team not meshing, or is it the coach? But I mean, they're gonna keep getting younger. I mean, they got high picks, so uh,
yeah,
hopefully they'll put it together, because, like you said, Zion is like a pretty cool thing to watch. A big dude with that fast feet and that the
Yeah.
jump that he has, the hops that he has, and how fast he can get up. Man, it's just really interesting to watch, man.
yeah. You know how to fix a team that has an experience problem? Add another rookie. So next up, we have the Indiana Pacers, James Bouknight. I don't know much about this guy. I didn't watch any Connecticut ball. So y'all have anything I want to say before I get to the next one, which is one that hits close to home for you, man,
Yeah.
Paul. Sacramento Kings got them taking Kai Jones. So please tell me about this 6'11" center from the University of Texas. Why should I be
Dude,
excited about him?
Kai Jones was one of the best talents to come get recruited by the University of Texas. He was one of the best players that Shaka Smart recruited in general. And man, dude, this guy just has like bounce. That is the best way I can describe it. Like he knows how to get a bucket in the crunch time as well. He's one of these like lengthy. He'll play like the 5 or the 4, but he has a lot of length to his game. Um, and man, dude, I think the big thing with him is potential, and that's probably why he's at 12. But bro, like he is easily in the last 8 years at the University of Texas, he easily had the most potential out of everybody. And I'm talking like Mo Bamba, Jared Allen, all those big guys that came through here, dude. Kai Jones was easily better than them for Texas. So I expect big things out of him, man, to be honest. Like he's one of those guys in the NBA, he should be getting a double-double every night. If he's developed the right way, he should at least be getting 10 and 10. If he goes to Sacramento, I'm not as confident about that, but like maybe a more established team, like maybe slip to Golden State or something like that. Absolutely.
You're not a Luke Walton guy. You don't like Luke Walton.
Not, man, there's certain teams, bro. The Magic, the Kings, the Pelicans, the Knicks. I just don't trust these guys with development, and they're always the team that take the top talent, but they just can't like handle them once they're on the roster. So. But yeah, dude, Kai Jones is special. Like it's hard to put it into words, man. But all I could say is every time Texas needed a clutch basket down the stretch, I mean, he would get it for us. And he's just so long and has a lot of bounce to him. He has all the tools to be a great NBA player.
How dare you besmirch the great name of the eighth seed New York Knicks? How dare you? How
Hey,
dare
man,
you?
I wish him the best, dude. But yeah, I hope no more Texas players go to these teams.
No, I'm right there with you, and I'm pretty sure the great Michael Rappaport, who likes to get into fights with NBA players, would probably agree with you that
Yeah.
the Knicks are hot garbage.
I'd rather see Kai Jones go to the Grizzlies than the Kings, to be honest.
I mean,
But
the Warriors
I
isn't too
digress.
far behind. Yeah, the Warriors
Yeah.
aren't too far behind with the number 13 pick, and they got them taking the guard Corey Kispert. Maybe trying to fill that hole that's there with them not taking LaMelo Ball. It probably hurts a little bit. They're like, we're not
Definitely.
missing out another guard, and like I said, a guy who's on a team who can who knows how to compete and is in those really uh, sorry, those like late game situations. We just saw that with the UCLA game. So I don't know too much about Kispert. Obviously, Jalen Suggs was the guy who got most of the play over there in Gonzaga, but it is what it is. Next up, Memphis Grizzlies, Chris Duarte. Another one. I didn't watch any Oregon basketball. Sorry, guys. I'm not a big Oregon fan. Then you got this is an interesting one here. New York Knicks taking guard Zaire Williams. This is a guy that a lot of people wanted to see in the tournament, and Stanford just didn't play in it. But as soon as he was announced, he was talked about as a one of these top picks here. Another good one, Boston Celtics, Franz Wagner, great shooter from Michigan. Juwan Howard probably had a lot of fun working with this kid. And I'm excited to see what he can do, especially with a young team. Well, I know it's young, but they're getting older and older every year in Boston with one of the weirdest coaches in Brad Stevens. You just don't know where to put him. Some years he's like it's Brad Stevens. He's one of the best coaches in the NBA. And then you're like, oh, we expect great things. And then they don't do that.
He's always highly regarded, man.
Yeah,
he is. He's always highly regarded, man.
Yeah, but it's something about expectations, man. They can weigh on you. He likes it when there's no expectations. But getting a shooter like Wagner and a good player like that, that could be a good thing for him, for that core over there. Atlanta Hawks. I don't know any of these guys from one from Australia and one from this one from Spain. Usman Garuba. If it's anything like Kamaru Usman, I mean, he should be good. Oklahoma City, you got Josh Giddey from Australia. And you got Charles Bassey from Western Kentucky. This is where the picks kind of get a little crazy. Let's go ahead and jump over here. You got another guy from Kentucky for the Houston Rockets, Isaiah Jackson, a center. 6'10". I don't like seeing that 6'10" name next to a number next to a center, but that's just me personally. What do y'all think about us taking a center at this late of a pick?
I'm not like super crazy about it. I mean, to me, the biggest thing is like finding somebody to play alongside Christian Wood. So that's really all that matters to me at this point. And usually like the late first round centers don't really pan out to be the best ones. I'm not saying we need an all-star next to him, but we just need somebody to know how to play with him. So if this is their guy, sure. But, he, like you see the numbers there, like he put up 8 and 6 rebounds per game, like, and he's only 6'10". That just on paper, that doesn't stand out to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right about getting somebody to play with Wood and complimenting him versus like clogging the paint or clogging the passing lanes. But a rebounder, I think a rebounder is what they need. Somebody that can play defense on the other end, that can kind of complement Wood, because Wood's good defensively on the help side defense. But and again, like you mentioned, late round centers aren't the best, but we don't need the best. We don't need a number one center guy. We don't need a what's his name? Embiid. We don't need an Embiid or anything like that. We just need somebody that can complement Christian Wood. And like you said, he doesn't. I mean, those are pretty low scoring numbers and rebounding numbers for a 6'10" center. So I guess it's just them thinking that we need a center and then slotting in the best center at that point.
Yeah. Next two picks that I really want to talk about, not too much into it, but I just like seeing these. Trey Mann to the Lakers, obviously. Trey Mann from Florida. He's the guy that didn't get a lot of playing time because of personal issues, but from what I had seen and from what I had heard, this guy is legit. He's the real deal. Over there in Florida, he was kind of the guy that everyone was waiting to see. So I'd like to see him play with LeBron and AD. And maybe a Steph Curry, we don't know, down the line next year. Oh, I just threw that out there. Who knows if that actually happened? But another one that I think this is my first time seeing this guy on a mock draft. It's Max Asmus from Oral Roberts University.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite player, like seeing him coming out just because of the story. I know he was I think my brother said he was like the NCAA player of the year or something like that. Like, and I never heard of this university ever. So this is my first hearing of them, but to see him going off the board at 25 to the Clippers as well, like that's a great landing spot for a talent like Max Asmus. I just hate the way his name is spelled. Like why is it? It is, but this is cool to see. What do y'all think about this one?
Well, I think his stock got boosted for sure with Oral Roberts. That's all I can really say.
Yeah, man. I think you have a great tournament and you end up shooting up the the board, man. I mean, it's all about that recency bias too, man. They just saw him. Get some upsets. Good for him, man. Good for him. He'd probably be a second round pick initially, and now he's going to be in the back of the first half. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you got the Rockets picking again. Nemius Queta from Utah State, another center. This guy has a much better line. With
sure.
He's at 7 feet and posted a 14.9 points per game and 10.1 rebounds per game. Why is this guy at 26 and not the earlier one? I don't know.
Exactly. And I mean, look at his height and weight too. He doesn't look like a thin guy. 245 pounds.
Yeah, but it is. I didn't make this.
Yeah, like I like that a lot better. And like Jesus said, like somebody who could just support Christian Wood's game. Hey, that's cool, man. That's perfect. If this guy could like catch some short passes and dunk the ball and rebound, perfect, man. Plug him in 7-0.
Yeah.
I want to get to 29 if you guys are.
I was about to go there. Fill me in on the great Greg Brown.
Dude, Greg Brown is an explosive guy. Like I said, Kai Jones, the word for him was bounce. Greg Brown is explosive. Almost explosive to the point where he didn't get played in the tournament. And that was for a number of reasons, mainly because this guy wears his heart on his sleeve. There was one point where Texas played Baylor, and we were neck to neck with them during the game. And Greg Brown just had one of the best dunks all year from Texas, just an explosive dunk. And then he stared down his defender right in the soul, man. And the ref teed him up. Of course, soft ass call. The ref teed him up, but he still kept getting crunk and getting everyone on their feet. And Shaka pulled him out. Baylor got on a run. So the thing about Greg Brown, dude, is like he's explosive in both the good ways and the bad ways. Since he's so young, sometimes it gets the best of him, or he plays with a lot of emotion. So he that's where he's going to have to develop in the league, because he's not going to get calls in the league. If he's going to want to play down the stretch, he's going to have to stay composed the first three quarters. But when it comes to him as a player, he's a perfect 3-and-D type of player. Like I would, to not overhype him, I would say at a base level, he's kind of like a Kelly Oubre. Not this year, Kelly Oubre last year. So, I think he has a lot of potential, man. I think with the right team, he'll be a nice fit.
I know it's shocking, but he is currently slated to go to the Phoenix Suns at the 29th pick. And that is not a traded pick. That is a legit 29th pick because they are doing so well.
Crazy.
Surprise of the year. Yeah, he would be a great fit. I mean, but at this point, Chris Paul kind of makes everybody fit. It seems like it's just
true.
I mean, this is like, I know the MVP is obviously going to the best player. Like it goes to the best player of the year or whatever. But when I think like most valuable player, I always think of like, what would happen if you took that player off of that team? Mm-hmm. Would they be where they're at? And tell me right now that if you took Chris Paul off of that team, Phoenix wouldn't be getting Cade Cunningham right now. like it's wild, dude. It's crazy. I like sorry, I like Monty Brown too. I like him a lot. Monty Williams, sorry, not Monty Williams. Monty Williams, I like him a lot. So I think that plays into it as well. But at the same time, man, maybe we should start putting a little bit more respect on Chris Paul's name.
On 30, what, 8-year-old Chris Paul? How old is he now?
Put the respect on his name. Put it on his name. And I just love seeing the Phoenix Suns succeed because I love Devin Booker. I love him so much, man.
Dude, I like Chris Paul so much, man, but it's just if we could have given him a hamstring, man, just anybody's hamstring.
I would have given him mine, dude. Like,
yeah, dude.
It ain't great, but it's something.
It would have been so different, man. It would have been so different.
I know, man. It sucks, but let's not. I'm probably gonna cry myself to sleep now thinking about that. But because I am like 100% sure we beat the Cavaliers in that finals, like
for sure, dude.
If it's not a sweep, it's a gentleman's sweep, like the way we were playing. Yeah. But you can't miss 27 threes in a row. You just can't make one of those. God damn it. Yeah. But yeah. All right, so guys, we're gonna go ahead and head out soon. But before we do, we didn't mention the NFL draft. Who are your top 3 quarterbacks taken? I want to hear this. Or where would you slot the top 5 quarterbacks that are currently slated to be taken in the first round? All the mock drafts have them going 1 through 5, but that's ridiculous. It's not how it never works. It never works that way.
I just want to say, like, obviously, okay, I'll just go for it. I'll try my best. Trevor Lawrence. I definitely have to think Justin Fields goes next. I mean, from there, I think it's weird, man, because people have been hyping up Mac Jones, and I don't really believe in him. But I think he's going to go at least top 5.
Yeah.
So I would say Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, probably from BYU.
Zach
Wilson. And then I think you're looking at Mac Jones, overhyped, and then Trey Lance.
All right. I'll go ahead and go next. Trevor Lawrence, obviously. I do have Justin Fields. I don't believe in him that much, but I do think he's probably the second best quarterback in the league. Now here's my thing, man. With Zach Wilson versus Mac Jones. Mac Jones played a lot of like top tier talent, but he also had a lot of top tier talent around him. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a lot about where he's fitted. But I think I might put him above Zach Wilson, because Zach Wilson is like the typical pro, like he's what you want out of a quarterback, but that doesn't always pan out the way you want it to pan out. You can get a guy who's across the board exactly what you, because that's what I've heard, is that he's across the board what you want out of a quarterback, but that doesn't always pan out to me. I know you can't always say it, but for me, like the fact that he played at BYU, and they had a pretty bad season, it kind of bothers me when people were like, "Oh, he's a top 3 pick." I'm like, is he though? So I'm gonna put him at 4, Mac Jones at 3, just seeing more talent that he had to play against. And I try not to hold the fact that he had talent around him against him. That's not fair. I think that's not a great thing to say against. He can't control what he did with the talent around him is more important to me than what talent he had around him. And then Trey Lance, just because I believe he's only had, was it Arizona State? Or no, North Dakota State.
North Dakota, yeah.
Yeah, North Dakota State. So, smaller market, not as many games. That's also my problem with Mac Jones a little bit too, is I think he only has like 13 starts. Whereas like compared to Trevor Lawrence, who in high school and college has played about 96 games.
Yeah.
Just found
and he's only lost like 2.
Yeah, so it's kind of big. It's kind of a big discrepancy in the amount of games. But that's kind of where I'm at. Like if Kyle Shanahan decides to go with Mac Jones because he feels like he can do more with him, I have more faith in what Kyle Shanahan can do with a quarterback. And maybe I could also be saying like, I could be thinking also like Kyle Shanahan just wants to show what he can do with a guy like Mac Jones, maybe. Which, I mean, if he wants to do that, he's more than happy. He's more than welcome to. He's done what he's done with the teams that he's been at, like blow a giant lead. But I digress. That's not his fault. Kind of.
Just one comment on Mac Jones before Jesus starts. Like, I think the fit, like if Mac Jones ended up on like a Pittsburgh or like New England, I could maybe see it working out like a happy marriage. I guess what worries me is like he's not. The league is kind of shifting towards like mobile quarterbacks. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of why I think he might be a bit like if he didn't have the Bama seal behind him, it might be a bit overhyped. But anyway, I digress.
I'll add too. Also, I mean, him being from Alabama, that actually weighed against him in my rankings because I think that there's not really been any Alabama quarterbacks that succeed in the NFL. You look at AJ McCarron was the most recent one, and it's just not looking good. Tua. I mean, we still have yet to see with Tua, but we'll see. Same with Jalen Hurts, but I mean,
we'll see
two different quarterbacks.
Yeah, 2 different quarterbacks. We've seen Jalen Hurts be somewhat successful, and with Tua, I mean, there was reports that Miami wanted to trade for Watson, so I don't think they have too much faith in Tua. I mean, it is Deshaun Watson as far as the skill set. I mean, if you had somebody really good, you wouldn't even be looking to trade. You'd be trying to develop your guy. But I digress too. If it's going just by picks, man, in my opinion, it's going to be obviously Trevor Lawrence first, and then the Jets are going to Jets, and they're going to get Zach Wilson from BYU because that's what Jets do. That they just traded Sam Darnold.
They did. They solidified. We're getting a quarterback.
Yeah, so they just traded him, and I mean it's a Jets, so it looks like a quarterback. It smells like a quarterback. It's what everybody wants in a quarterback. Let's get that quarterback, and that's what they're going to do. And then I got your boy Shanahan getting Mac Jones, just for the same reason, to see what he can do with that quarterback, that type of quarterback, and it's interesting. Just I don't know. I believe a lot in the Kyle Shanahan and his history and his record with quarterbacks and what he's been able to do. This time he gets to draft his guy, even though he got to trade for his guy. He gets to draft his guy, and we'll see. And then at the number 4 pick, there's reports that Atlanta's going to trade out of it, or they're willing to trade out of it because they're basically now the number 1 pick because the first 3 are going to be the quarterbacks, and everybody knows somewhat in what order they're going to go. If they do trade out. I mean, who would probably move up to get a quarterback at that point? And I'm looking at maybe like a Denver to try to trade up there. So
you get to throw that out there too. I mean, Belichick's been doing what he doesn't normally do.
Yeah, I've seen more Denver move up more than New England, would, and they're willing to gamble more. So if they do that, I think they'll pick Trey Lance at that position. But I don't know, because I also think that Justin Fields would be a better fit in Denver. So I don't know. I'm gonna go if Denver moves up, they'll pick Justin Fields, in my opinion, and then the last one to get off the board will be Trey Lance, in my opinion.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because Kyle Pitts is the best player in this draft. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and head out before another one before we do. I just want to say to give a quick update. Obviously, the first the first victim to come out has come out to speak against Deshaun Watson. Her name is Ashley Solis. She is a masseuse here in Houston. My girlfriend actually wanted to get a massage from her recently, but she actually closed down, and now we know why she closed down. Interesting turn of events. No, I don't want. Obviously, we want to wait till the investigation's done. I will say, guys, please, because my girlfriend and her best friend were looking at her Instagram. The comments were just disgusting and horrific, and I felt really bad, man. It's just we have to believe. We have to take these accounts seriously, man. We got to stop attacking people just because we like the person who is being accused. I like Deshaun Watson just as much as the next person, but I also I don't think there's one person in this world that I can see not being capable of horrible things. I think Daniel Tosh said that one time in a stand-up. Like you gotta at least like understand anybody is capable of horrible things. So I'm not gonna attack this woman, and please stop attacking this woman just because you like Deshaun Watson. Let's wait for everything to come out. It's starting to look it starts to get even worse because now, the main thing people were saying was like, oh, Tony Busby, the McNairs, it's all adding up. And that's his attorney. He's the attorney for all these women. And now there's a woman that just recently came out, and she's not a client of Tony Busby, which is even worse. And another one that's going to police instead of going through Tony Busby. So, guys, it's starting to look really bad. Please stop attacking these women. Let's believe these women. I'm not saying let's believe them without evidence. Let's wait for this investigation to play out and take these allegations seriously, guys. So just please stop being an asshole.
I mean, it's the internet, man. It's the internet, and unfortunately, that's what we live in. I come away from the aspect of it's where there's smoke, there's fire. There's a lot of evidence there. There's a lot of corroborating evidence. There's one, like you mentioned, one woman that is not part of the lawsuit and didn't want to be part of the lawsuit, but she did tell her story, and it sounds a lot like the other stories. It makes sense now why Watson wanted to be traded. Maybe he's trying to run away from this. He knew this was coming. Yeah. He was trying to get out of Dodge. Obviously, the Texans knew something was up. That's why they also traded for Tyrod Taylor, or signed him. I'm sorry, they signed him or what have you. But I don't see this ending in anything but Watson getting on the commissioner's exempt list, being out of commission at the least, and then also I think Art Acevedo, maybe before he left, or I forgot who it was, they already said they opened an investigation into it because somebody came forward, a victim came forward with information. So there is a criminal investigation now open into Deshaun Watson. So it doesn't look good, man. But at this point, I liked him on the field. I like what he was able to do. What the time we had with him on the field, but outside of it, it's just too much, man. Like I do believe most of these women, because it's a pattern, and that's what sexual predators do is a pattern. They do a certain pattern, and once they get away with it once, it just kind of snowballs. So I'm not saying he's completely guilty or 100% guilty. I just think it's more than likely that he is guilty, and we've seen the last of him play in the NFL for the Texans for sure. Who knows if maybe he goes to jail for a couple years like Michael Vick and then comes out, if he's even capable, because it's completely different. It's a sexual assault kind of deal, sexual harassment and assault. But yeah, man, it's serious. It's a serious thing. At first, I thought it wasn't. I thought it was somebody trying to get money. But after all this has come out, I think it's very serious. And his career's in jeopardy, man. His career's in jeopardy. And as a Texans fan, we got to look forward to life without Deshaun Watson. That we've seen his last game.
Yep. yeah, for sure.
No, I think you guys hit the nail on the head, man. I'm not expecting him to play next year. It's definitely suspicious, all those women. I don't even know that many women to plead against me. So you know what I'm saying? I don't know 22 girls to, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of surreal, to be honest. Deshaun had an up and down road here after his first 2 years. But yeah, maybe like Jesus said, maybe that's why he wanted to get traded, try to get out before all of this happened. But man, I just, I wish everyone the best in it. I wish the victims the best. I hope they're not traumatized by it. So I heard one of the massage therapists, one of the ones that came out in support of him, they actually said that she didn't want to work with him though, because she had heard a pattern of this type of stuff too. Yeah, so not looking good. I'm not expecting him to play at all next year. Like you both said, I think we have to just embrace who's QB2 from here and just move forward.
Absolutely, guys. We'll keep you up to date on all this information here at the regular podcast. We will always be covering it. As every show, we'll bring it up, whether it be the very end of the show or the very beginning of the show, and just give our thoughts on what's happening. Because I don't think this is going away anytime soon. So, but we'll end now, kind of on a sour note. But we'll be back on Monday as our per regular scheduled programming. Things happened, life. So we'll be back next Monday here for the regular podcast. If there's anybody out there that you guys want us to reach out to and maybe try to get on the show or anything, like some people that are in the Houston sports community, please let us know. But until then, I will see you guys next weekend. You can find me on Twitter at AlecMiller0423, and make sure you catch the ANS podcast every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central Time. Go ahead and Paul and plug yourself.
Yeah, man. I just want to say thanks for all the support out there. A lot of you guys, including you, Alec, have been cheering me on with getting my music distributed, and it means a lot. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, come Monday, I'm gonna have a new album coming out. It's a beat tape, so it's just gonna be instrumentals. If you guys are interested in using any of my work, you need some interlude music, you need something professional, just get at me. That's what I enjoy doing. And last thing, Jesus, before I pass it over to you, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. Make sure you come back and chop it up with us some more.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you guys for having me on. It's fun talking about other stuff besides MMA every once in a while, because I am a big sports fanatic. Paul, I don't know if you're into MMA, and if not, we'd love to get you into it so we can get you on the podcast too, and you can chop it up with us. But I appreciate you guys having me on. I appreciate you the insights you guys have into the Houston sports scene. And again, congratulations, Paul, man. That's a big deal, getting your something you created on a radio station in your hometown right there at UT. So pretty cool, man. I appreciate you guys. You can find me on Twitter at @TheRealJesus, and that's spelled JEEZUS.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week. So peace out.
Peace.